Okay, welcome to this meeting of the Central Hawke's Bay District Council Transport Committee. I'd like to welcome you. We had a karakia at the start of today's proceedings. Any apologies initially? We've got Councillor Tim Aitken away. Would somebody like to move that the apology be accepted? The Witchman, Mayor Walker, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Sorry, any declarations of conflicts of interest from today's agenda? Remembering obviously that you can bring it up at any time of the meeting. Standing orders, recommendation that the following standing orders are suspended for the duration of the meeting. Time limits on speakers, members may only speak once, and limits on the number of speakers. And the option C under section 22, used for the meeting. Standing orders are recommended to be suspended to enable members to engage in discussion in a free and frank manner. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Annan, Councillor Byrne, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Confirmation of minutes. We have minutes of the Transport Committee meeting held on the 12th of December. Circulated. Would anyone have anything to bring up from those? Something like to move that there be a true and accurate record, is confirmed as true and correct. Councillor Byrne and Councillor Minahan, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Into the land transport, resolution monitoring report, Mr. Davis.
Right.
On page 11.
Madam Chair, just the one item on there should be orange to say it's on track, and we do a further update. Maybe to take any questions on that one, but tracking well over.
It has no colour.
Yeah, so it should be orange.
So it should be orange. Got you. Yeah. Any questions about that one? I'd like to move the resolution monitoring report be noted. Alex, seconder, Councillor McGreer, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Land Transport Recovery Key Program Status Report. And Phil.
Through you, Madam Chair. Again, I'm standing up for Mark, but we know what his situation. Hopefully he's not watching. I think he will be, because he's not following his doctor's orders resting, but he's committed. Anyway, this report in front of you is obviously the Land Transport Recovery report that you get on a regular basis. I'll now hand over to Miss England, who will step you through it.
Good afternoon all. Through the chair, I'd like to present the paper that provides an update since our most recent meeting, which was on the 12th of December. Since then, we've had significant progress on a number of sites, namely starting construction on mainly our phase 2 and phase 3 recovery sites. So the construction program is now underway. We've got a number of contractors working out on the district, but specifically Fulton Hogan and SCL are leading out the bulk of that phase 2 and 3 work. Since the last meeting in the phase 1 space, we've opened Fletcher's Crossing back to traffic for road users now. We've completed the stage 2 repairs at Fletcher's Crossing, and our progress on design and consenting for stage 3 is currently underway. We've got great news that Elsthorpe Road, the work is planned to start there next week with our contractor Toa Civil, who are coming in from Hastings to provide us that service. Across the unfunded piece of work on our programme, we are currently working with Mr. George as our asset owner to provide NZTA with more information about the 85 unfunded sites. With our projected underspend for this financial year, we are looking at whether there's the possibility to include any of those 85 sites within this financial year's programme. to make up that difference and make use of the full available budget at our 89% FAR. Other than that, happy to take the report as read and answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Ms. England. Any questions?
For the moment.
Walker.
Love that you're trying to find ways to make the most of that funding. Is this something we've learned from trying to go fast and get them to fit into a calendar year that we're applying to that? Is it worth the energy of us trying to do that when we know how hard it is to get it to implementation?
Through your chair, something that we are really aware of is the struggle of trying to fit everything into the one financial calendar year. And so a portion of that underspend, we are also looking to potentially reallocate to planning for the next financial year. So that planning is already underway internally, but if we can utilize some of that underspend to use our external resources to assist with procurement and design of next year's program, then we're also going to try and do that as well.
When we look at, the slips and under slips and slopes and those sorts of things, and how we're not using our belts and braces approach anymore. Is there anything that we can use for an education program that will help landowners perhaps, plant the poplar poles and those to move further? Because a lot of this seems to be, unstable land. We can prevent it. I mean, when you look at it, the land transport probably is what it is, the biggest cost to our rural ratepayers. And how can we prevent the land slipping and causing further damage to our infrastructure, which in turn they've got to pay for through their land transport rate?
Through your chair, that's something we could definitely investigate. I think that there would probably be varying receptiveness from certain landowners on that. The sites that we have damage on of slips at the moment, the landowners have been really open to planting and essentially putting an area of their paddock to rest by fencing it off and no longer grazing it. But that is primarily due to the fact that it's already slipped away and isn't very productive land anymore. So we could consider working with our communications team to try and encourage that behaviour, but there's no.
Maybe through you, Madam Chair. I know that like this table has had a conversation previously about how we manage the whole of corridor. So this logic, the whole of kind of corridor catchment for want of a better term. So I think that's probably something. In the short term, there's probably even just conversations with land care and some of the land care groups that have got in place. But I think there's probably a longer term conversation looking to Mr. George as the asset manager as we look into the 2026 and 2027 asset management plans. What might be some of the things that we need to start flagging and thinking about around? We want to do it. Just how do we kind of expand that scope of service? What does it look like?
Yeah, I saw HBRC. Yeah.
So
HBRC had some funding, though they seem to have reduced the funding. And I was just wondering whether Central Hawke's Bay Farmers had actually been.
So through you, Chair, some of the issues that we have to manage in that space, which Paige is alluding to, is one is the landowner involvement in it, and the other is our funder. And of course, they don't fund beyond our sort of road corridor as a basic premise. It's not always absolute like that. So we've got to make sure they come in on board. But it makes sense. We could do preventative works with our landowners. Why wouldn't we? But I don't know whether.
They're not helping us to fund retaining walls or anything anymore. So, how are we going to stop it from happening?
I don't know whether Mr. George has had any conversations with Wakatutahi on that.
Through you, Madam Chair. No, it hasn't come up.
Like to think going forward that we could, as our asset management matures, that we could actually, we will have our contractors and our staff on the network going, oh, that could be a future problem and actually do something about it at that point rather than waiting till the road falls down. And then
Through you, Chair, just wanted to clarify as well that there are some retaining structures that are being built through this year's programme. So although we've accepted the, we'll use your terminology of the not belts and braces approach at some sites, it's not across the entire district. So on our arterial routes, we have gone with that approach and NZTA have supported us in that.
I think what councillor Byrne might have been alluding to is several times in the report where it says this will not solve the overlying problem and the road may slip again. Which we have heard around this table before, that's something that we are having to suck it up with NZTA. Walker.
So the risk of the geological risks that we have on our roading network have always been noted in our asset management plan. But the quality of mapping and data has not necessarily been what it should be. It's actually where councillor Aitken and I, as representing council on the Climate Action Committee and the risk assessment stuff, that has been going through that kind of work to try and keep that lens of risk to try and help mature our knowledge. And it won't go granular, that regional work won't go granular on where is a hillside going to slip and set this way, right? But the whole context of how we mature that, because actually the community resilience bit is important in that too. So I would like to think as it goes into the next LTP, we could talk about what an approach to that is. And we totally understand NZTA don't fund that stuff. But if it's helpful and it's fundable some other way, like it's, got possibilities. I've got another question. Just on the RP1 projects, which my recollection is that they are the Crown Infrastructure Partners direct funded ones. On the Wimbledon Road one, it says site will not be completed by June 25. Did you say that because that's where the funding's going to run out, or just because that was the expectations that you kind of had originally set to us on the project?
Through your chair, we're noting that because within our current project specific funding agreement with Crown Infrastructure Partners, or NIF as they're now known, the date was planned for June 2025. Okay. So we're working through a change process with them at the moment to formalise the extension of the programme for that specific site.
Just to take that one step further, so it's a risk. It's not likely that they'll pull the on that. It's going through a process to extend.
Through your chair, we've been indicating with NIF since pre-Christmas that this was our intention to extend the programme, and they're supportive of it at this point in time.
Just wonder why that's read.
It would have been tight. I signed that project change notice only yesterday. So
what is the NIF?
National Infrastructure Funding and Financing is their new name.
And that's Crown Infrastructure Partners.
Correct.
Councillor Muggeridge.
I've got a real problem with the Allsort Road one, where it's had the philosophy with no band-aids. Well, this is a real band-aid, this one. If you look at the aerial shot of that hillside, it's just going to be an ongoing in that road up. I think it's done. What we're doing is doing a bit of drainage there.
I think I'd welcome you to answer what I think was a question there, but I think we've heard Mr. Kimberg say around this table that we are having to, Ordnance England, they're having to adhere to NZTA, and it does go against their band-aid process, but there's not a lot we can do about it at this stage.
Through your chair, I can confirm, yes, you're correct. I can add to that as well, is that with a slip of that scale and the depth of it as well, it is very difficult to put a hard engineering solution in place that is cost effective and also minimises all risk of future movement. Our drainage and planting solution is the most cost effective solution that minimises as much risk as we can manage without exceeding budget.
I think what is important here is if we are going to have this band-aid, not by our own doing, that it is a comms issue, and that photo needs to be shared on our comms networks. Because when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's going to be exactly what you said. It's going to be an ongoing issue for some time, and it really needs to be. And it's not the first time that telling the story of these has been said. But it's not we don't like band-aids, but it's the hand we're being dealt at the moment, I think, and I would like to see a comms. Any further question? Councillor Byrne.
You know, our Salt Road, that example, have we actually, I presume we've got the costings if we were to do it right and do it right first time. Can we,
Through your chair, we haven't got detailed costings, but our original optioneering of solutions did show a solution that minimized more risk, the hard engineering solution as such, and it did exceed our budget. I'm afraid I don't have the number off the top of
no,
my head.
I'm just thinking that if we were to communicate that to ratepayers, that we, you know, this is the funding we've received, this is what we would have liked to have done, it might actually explain why it's not going to be a long-standing solution.
Through you, Chair, that we can definitely work with comms to make sure that message is communicated to community, and it will align with the discussions that I think we've had previously around the value for money, is that it may not appear from the outset that it's the best approach to-band-aid it, but actually if it only costs us the $900,000 at this point in time versus 3 million, and we have to go back in 10 years' time, then that is still more cost effective than the alternate hard engineering solution.
Can I ask why there is no picture of Burnside Bridge? I know that we're looking, there's a discussion around decommissioning of it. But I've noticed since I've been sitting at this table that there's not been a picture once come up about Burnside Bridge.
Through your chair, that might just be a formatting error, unfortunately, to fit it within our current pages, but we can definitely add a picture moving forward of Burnside.
You can definitely send you a picture. We've got plenty of them.
Some during the cyclone, if you'd like to use.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of inside, given that there is a paper being presented to this committee on the 27th of March, and this paper will now be public. What is the?
So just through you to clarify that, so that was original program was around delivering up a decision paper, and of course we presented this week or a couple of weeks ago, and a question came from the table around the public engagement. We're trying to do the public and informing process that we're doing. Our team will be connecting up with yourself as well, and maybe as well. So check in on that comms piece and our approach. We may not need a decision because I think the decision might be obvious, but subject to how that goes. So that may not be required or may be delayed or subject to the engagement.
Any further questions on the paper? Team? Would someone like to move that the noted? That's Annan. Mayor Walker, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Chair. Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just one thing on that report. If I may, there's heaps of really good photos here, and because this is the majority of the work that's happening in our community at the moment, CAPEX work, I don't think that those photos can be under-shared, actually. They should be everywhere. And I still think it's a real missed opportunity. They're sitting here in these reports, but actually in terms of just putting them out for people to see, massive opportunity, and I don't think we're taking advantage of it.
I think they are being, I have seen some of them on, just can't think of which projects at the moment off the top of my head on the council Facebook. But I think what we're not seeing or what we're not doing or the community isn't doing for us is sharing those on the community pages. So if there's a Wimbledon Road project, then the Parongaho page needs to share it. If there's something about Burnside Bridge, needs to go on the Heartbeat page. Omakiri page, etc., sharing the Thorpe Road. So I think we need to have those posts for the community to share, and for the community to feel like they can share them, and yeah. So we verbal update on the Regional Transport Committee meeting. I do have a couple of slides, but the public transport came up a lot at the Regional Transport Committee in various guises, one of which was the Regional Public Transport Plan. It's not totally directed at CHB because we have no public transport. But I thought it was important to just to bring it up here that there's some changes with routes, with national ticketing system. They're going cashless, looking at going cashless. And increases in fare amounts each year for the next 3 years so that they can make it more balanced user pays system. And as I said, the ratepayer component doesn't directly affect CHB. The plan does say there is a commitment to continue efforts to secure funding for a CHB commuter trial. The likelihood of that ever going further than those 2 lines will remain to be seen. And we actually have Tiara Bergstrom at the moment, a CHB resident with Wahashia, trying to boost commuters talking to each other and ride sharing. She got annoyed one day with seeing so many cars pass her on the road between Waipukaro and Waipawa with one person in them. And I did the same thing driving into Waipawa the other day between Otani and Waipawa, past something like 40 in the time I was counting, about 40 vehicles, of which about 33 of them were had one person in them. So yeah, it is something that and if we can do something like that from a local point of view, just then that's a good thing. So shout out to Tiara, and hopefully she that comes off the ground for her. Roads
Front page of.
front page of the paper today. Excellent. I believe Neville gave some information to that story. Tomorrow. So road safe always comes up at the Regional Transport Committee, and just a couple of things of note there that Higgins had done some safety education, which the sessions went really well, and they're going to do it again. I think the Central Lines had done a similar thing with road safe, and just would encourage large employers to get on board with that. They look at the fatal vision goggles, the anti-drink drive stuff. They just do basic defensive driving from and just education of just how to be safe, particularly with companies like Higgins that are always out and about on our roads. Child restraints at the CHB Teen Parents Centre, with fitting and education of those child restraints. So it's really good to see some of our organisations down here getting the benefit of the road safe knowledge. And the Youth Expo, which a lot of you may know of, has changed from one big annual event and will now be an education day at each high school instead. And they're already finding that a lot of the high schools are banding together and saying, let's do it together, and making it a better, a more cost-effective way to do that education. That's to year 11. So we had any order. So this is just a screenshot of the RTC agenda, and it basically talks about a lot of you will have known about the 100k speed limit changes, and this particularly was on for State Highway 5, and that people can submit on this. The 3 areas that are mentioned there, Tarawera, Te Puhui, and around Te Harato, they are very short stretches. They're only like a K or a couple of Ks of 80, whereas the police, Angela at the RTC, was quite negative about that because it's out the crash zones are often outside the areas that they've highlighted. But if you have a particular view on this, then you can consult on that. And just in the same vein, it's not speed related, the roundabout for Te Ahu Aturanga, the Saddle Road, the new road over there, that roundabout's being closed, so there'll be 5 weeks of delays and disruption there for motorists. So we had a bit of a discussion about that. The Trek, so this is a really good, if you want to know what's happening with Trek, what's happening with some of the recovery work through NZTA, that's all right, that's all right. Just that if you go to nzta.govt.nz and put that Trek map in, and it's interactive, and you can go in and see what all the projects are around the place, and you can see some of the work that's already been done on State Highway 50 in particular for us. A lot of the work that's been done with I think it's mainly the abutments, the strengthening around the bridges that we've been doing on our own bridges, can be is mirrored in that, but that's a really good map to go and have a look at. And the last one was the Waikari Gorge realignment with a big thumbs up on the day of the meeting. You can see the new bridge there. It had just been announced a few days before last weekend. And so that we'll see huge, and it's almost come about because the RTC has tried and has kept it in our regional land transport plan, even though told time and time again it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're not going to get it. And it's too bad. The region Wairoa needs it, that's a wee win for the regional land transport plan. So that was it from me. It's sort of, as I've said in the past, we do get the minutes through here, but we get them in 6 weeks or 8 weeks time or whatever. And the minutes aren't a true reflection of actually the little bits of CHB or general interest that I get out of them on the day. So thank you for listening to that. Do I have to? Any questions?
I was just wondering, I had an email come through from Keep New Zealand Beautiful, and they said that with them closing the road between
Desert Road?
Desert Road. Yeah, there was a missed opportunity that NZ didn't allow them to get volunteers out there to be picking up rubbish and things like that. I knew you'd be all over that. And so just wondering, like with the environmental cleanup, New Zealand Keep Hawke's Bay Beautiful lenses, that's something that you guys are advocating for, that basically, you know, like some of the roads are the most worked on bits of roads in Hawke's Bay, and then nobody puts something about rubbish next to it. Is that something that you guys advocate for, that actually the contractors need to be thinking about?
Short answer, no. Long answer, like this council, they have a public forum at the start of the RTC. We would like to suggest it and get it in front of the people that can make noise back in their own respective councils. Plus, we can probably it's as simple as maybe just starting a conversation with Linda Stewart, our contact at NZTA, and just saying, you know, what would it take, or particularly not just for Desert Road, but all the, you're talking about all the little bits around them.
Yeah.
I'll note it and we'll start a conversation. That's a bit.
Yeah, because I've been obviously having a look at all the road closures that there are at the moment, and there's significant. And we're about to experience one from, I think, the 17th of March, is it, to the 20th of March, from Pukekohe to Valhalla. I mean, I know it's in the evening and it's probably daylight saving, so we probably have flashlights. But those sorts of opportunities, yeah, shouldn't be missed. That's me.
Just writing it down so it's not missed. Would somebody like to move that the verbal update on the Regional Transport Committee from the 21st of February be Councillor Annan, seconded Councillor Byrne. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Recommendation for the date of the next meeting. I move that the
Transport.
next meeting of the Central Hawke's Bay District Council's Transport Committee be held on the 27th of March, 2025. Does somebody like to second that? Councillor Witchman, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against. Carried. Moving into public excluded business. We have a public excluded resolution monitoring report and our land transport professional services procurement plan, which for obvious commercial reasons is being done in public excluded. So just literally that's public excluded. I so move. Does somebody would like to second? Councillor Byrne. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against. Great. So this meeting will continue in public excluded, but for those online, we are now, we've closed the meeting at the end of that public excluded. So this is the end of the public section.